Hi, folks. This is part two of What is Abnormal Psychology, the introductory material. And the next thing I want to talk about is some select myths about abnormal psychology. And the first one that I want to talk about is the myth that psychological disorders are a sign of personal weakness. No, they are not. They are in no way, shape, or form a personal weakness. So let's get that out of the way. You'll see this sometimes with people who have major depressive disorder or some depression of some kind. People will think, well, why don't you just get out of bed? Why don't you just go for a walk? What is your problem? They think it's a characterological issue, and it's not. It is not that. Another is that psychological disorders are invariably incurable or untreatable. That's not true either. We have lots of treatments for people with various kinds of psychological disorders. Some of it involves counseling, some of it involves medication in some cases. And in terms of anxiety disorders, we have a very high hit rate. I don't use the word cure, but we have a very high hit rate. That is to say, effective treatments. Yeah. Third one is that people with disorders behave in bizarre ways. No, most of the time you don't see the disorder displayed in overt behavior. Sometimes you do, depending on the disorder. But a lot of times it's things that go on mentally. An example would be hallucinations. You don't see hallucinations. You might see someone looking off and as if listening to something, but even then you may not see such a thing. So, no, that's not true. That normal people don't have abnormal behavior. Yes, we do. All of us at times have behavior that's not typical. The difference is that people who have abnormal conditions, psychological conditions, that they have more of those behaviors. They have more of those mental processes. Yeah. That somehow effective treatment is easy to get. Unfortunately, it's not easy to get. Getting a superb treatment is not easy. Unfortunately, yeah. So that psychological disorders are caused by demon possession or evil spirits. There are people even today who believe such a thing. It was rampant in the Middle Ages and at various times throughout human history. But that's just, there's no evidence for that. So we can't say that that is true at all. That you can catch a disorder from someone. No, you will be affected by people if you are in close contact with someone who has one or more kinds of issues. Close association with anyone, with any, even people who have positive attributes, you're affected by that in a positive way. Yeah, but you don't catch disorders they're not contagious mental disorders. That homosexuals are mentally disturbed. No, we stopped calling homosexuality a disorder in 1973. All of the major organizations, the Health Organization, the American Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, and on, don't consider homosexuality a disorder. It's easy to plead insanity, to get a reduced sentence for a crime. No, it's not. In fact, very few people plead that, and when they do plead it, very few people are successful in that plea. You see. Okay. I have a graph about that, and you'll see that the public perception is very different than the reality of pleading insanity, which is a legal definition, not a psychological term, really. Okay. So how do we define mental disorders? How do we do that? Well, the first thing to do is to note what is psychologically healthy. What does a healthy person do? What can they do if they're psychologically healthy? And the first thing is they can establish, form, and maintain close social relationships. They can do that. They don't blow them out of the water on a regular basis. They don't. It isn't that they don't know how. They can. Okay, these are skills that you develop mostly across the lifespan. We want people to be able to develop them quickly or know how, have the skills. That's what my course in the psychology of human relationships is all about, actually. Second thing is that psychologically healthy people can carry out responsibilities. They can do the things they need to do to take care of themselves, to do the work that they need to do to sustain themselves and others. They value themselves. That's a very positive thing, to value yourself. A psychologically healthy person, a mentally healthy person, pursues work that suits their talents and their training. Yeah. Mentally healthy people accept their own limitations and possibilities. They know what they're good at, they know what they're not good at, and they know what their possibilities are. And they utilize their possibilities, and for things that they need to acquire, they acquire them in terms of talent, in terms of building their talents, building their skills. Yeah. A mentally healthy person feels a sense of fulfillment in daily living. On a daily basis, not every day, not throughout every day necessarily, but on the whole, they feel a sense of fulfillment. Because a psychologically healthy person establishes relationships that support them and which they support, and also find work that is meaningful to them and to others. Yeah, so that's why. A psychologically healthy person perceives reality as it actually is. They don't have major distortions in the way the world exists. They don't have delusions and hallucinations, and they interpret reality relatively objectively. No one interprets reality completely objectively, you understand. So those are the characteristics of a psychologically healthy person. Now, the next thing to talk about is, and this will probably be the last thing of video two, is that there is a distribution curve, a normal distribution curve for people who are on the mental health spectrum. So the vast majority of people have moderately good psychological health. A small percentage are flourishing, say around 15%, something like that, 10 to 15%. At the other end, about 10 or 15% are languishing. They're not doing as well as they wished. They're having some troubles. And another, down at the far end, on the negative side, that is, about 10 or 15% are those who have a mental disorder that have the symptoms required to label it as a psychological disorder. At the very low end, people are really, really struggling. Really, really struggling. Okay? So that's the part two.